Hmm. There we go. Hey, friends. Welcome to another edition of the Panel Jumper LITE. My name is Ben Lawrence. With me, as always, is my friend, the Panel Jumper himself, Mr. Cole Hornaday. How are you, Cole?
I'm great, and I got my co-pilot, the world's longest cat.
Hey, mister.
And it's Mister. Yep, we're all good here in the little house of toys. How are you doing over there in Margaritaville?
Well, I'm doing great. You know, I gotta say that we're living in a weird world right now. The world is kind of on fire around us. Felt a little weird doing a piece of art like this today. However, so far, I checked. The last time I checked in, things seem to be somewhat peaceful, at least at the East District, the East Precinct on Capitol Hill. If you don't know what's going on, so many things are going on. Last night was a terror show. I'd say a different word, but I don't want to swear on the stream. But it seems to be chill for right now. And generally for these things, I don't like to talk about politics too much, but it's just something that we cannot not talk about right now. How are you doing, Cole?
I'm doing all right. I do have. I did want to do at least one book because we haven't done anything like that, and I think it's kind of pertinent, if not relevant, to what we're experiencing right now. And I do want to share that. I have been doing fine. Because now Poopy Brown Cockroach, so that's good. Say hello to the Poopy Brown Cockroach. I've been reading. I've been not doing much writing. I've been obviously doing some mask making, watching a lot of TV, and monitoring the situation across the country and particularly on Capitol Hill. Were you there? Were you working yesterday at Annex?
I was there during the day, but I was not there at night. I did walk past the protest on my way home. I left it was after dark, and it was just so surreal to walk down 11th Avenue East between Pike and Pine. It's just the community has taken it over, and I was just like, I hope and pray that everybody stays safe. Which is weird because I don't pray. I'm not a praying person. But like the worst, like I saw there was somebody who drove really fast towards the protesters. Fortunately, stopped before they hit the crowd and shot a man in the arm and was peacefully apprehended by the police as he wound his way through the crowd, jumped the police barrier, and just walked towards the police with a gun in his hand. And so I think that says a lot about what the police think of the protesters, because they just pop off quite easily if somebody throws an umbrella towards the police. But somebody walking towards them with a gun, if they're not a black person, then it must be okay. So anyway, let's not talk about politics. Jesus.
Well, and we still have Annex company members available on site for support. Is that right?
That has been correct. However, tonight there was chatter of violence that was going to happen on Capitol Hill, so they decided to close Annex and get everybody out because it was turning into what they thought might be a dangerous situation. So let's talk about comic books, Cole.
Right. Talk about comic books in the world, because all these things are impacting the culture of comics. You're the talking head news person here. You want to take the lead here on DC's latest move?
Yeah, so what's happening is if you don't know about what's happening with DC during the COVID-19 crisis, when it first started going in late March, early April, Diamond Distributing, the monopoly that distributes comic books, a monopoly that we always sort of made fun of on the podcast, they decided out of an abundance of caution to stop delivery of comics to the direct market, i.e. to comic book stores. And DC, after a couple weeks of that, decided to do the oh man, it happened again. I was gonna try to pull out a reference, and I just can't think of it. They decided to go their own way. They decided to do okay, here's what it is. They decided to pull a Fleetwood Mac and go their own way. Man, I'm so happy I got that out. And they enlisted a couple of what apparently are comic book stores, Midtown and DCBS, I think, to act as DC's distributors while Diamond was not working. And so that was not looked upon very favorably amongst the people who have to work with Diamond and work with DC to get these books. However, it came out, I think just yesterday, that DC is severing all ties with Diamond. And I've been reading a lot of articles about what that means for comic book stores, the reaction of the direct market to this decision by DC. Here's a clue, they don't like it.
Nope. There's very little positive comments being made about this rift. Now, I mean, we can't ever get past the fact that Diamond held a monopoly on comic book distribution. In fact, they existed within a loophole gray zone of the American Constitution because comic books and comic book distribution don't fall within certain parameters of commerce and sales. And, you know, no one was ever able to challenge that. Other distributors took them to court. It's a long history of it, and it's really pretty ugly. But right now, because comic book culture is all about the underdog, it's all about, you know, celebrating the powerless and lifting up the powerless or the disenfranchised. Now Diamond is looking a little bit sweet in a romantic light. But the bottom line is that with DC shifting to Midtown and DCBS, retailers are stating that this move is actually going to result in higher shipping costs. And a thinner profit margin for the shops. Bear in mind, I don't know if anybody listening has ever spent any time talking to people who work in comic book retail, but Ben and I do all the time because those people are family. And the truth of the matter is, with a lot of brick and mortar, non-corporate, let's say mom and pop stores, they really do live paycheck to paycheck. There is a very thin margin of financial error that a comic book shop like, you know, Corner Comics or Comics Dungeon can deal with and not be tunneled under as a result of it. So this is just going to be, this is another financial ding on top of the pandemic, on top of all the other things that we're dealing with. It's kind of ridiculous. DC had a marvelous opportunity to lift up and come together as a community, but their bottom line is so very, very precious to them that they're willing to screw, and have been for some time, they're willing to screw over the folks that actually sell their product for them. And that's how I'm kind of seeing this right now. And the other problem is that these folks that they are enlisting to be their distributors have very little distribution experience. Here's maybe that they are both mail order comic book companies, but they are not. I don't think they're really taking a good hard look at the magnitude of the responsibility that they're taking on. Diamond had its own problems. I mean, we heard lots of horror stories about the fact that Diamond only hired temp workers and did not have a lot of invested in the quality of their work, and there were a lot of shops that would get damaged product and have to ship it back. That's a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted money because people don't care. We'll be seeing even more of that type of very, very poor customer service and customers dropping off. Retailers are always worried about keeping customers coming in through the door, but they can't right now. So they're looking at other ways to keep the customers happy. And it's a real challenge, and I think DC, well, I'm not a fan of DC right now anyway for a number of reasons, but this just sort of like is another nail in the coffin of the death of our relationship. Was that too wordy?
No, not at all. In fact, one other thing from this article that I read from GamesRadar.com is Midtown and DCBS are competitors of the direct market. They're basically just comic book stores, and so it's a punch in the gut for a bunch of these retailers to have to buy DC Comics from these two companies because they're basically giving money to their competitors.
So it's I don't know. There's going to be a really, really, really terrible reckoning at some point when it comes to this distribution stuff. And the message that a lot of us have been getting for some time now is that DC and Warner in particular do not care about their comic books. They don't care about the comic book and branch. They don't care about the wing. They care about the properties because those properties can make money. They don't respect the properties, and God knows we've had a ton of conversations about how they've been reshaping Batman and Superman and what have you to fit a darker, more hip and relevant reality. But they don't care, and that's become more and more evident. I never cared much for Dan Didio as a politician and as a business person, but why he left DC. I can foresee him having these issues that I'm bringing up being a big point of why he left, and I would have to begrudgingly say, okay, now I have some respect for the man because he left for good reasons and he tried to leave before, and can we not talk about DC anymore? I'm getting some intestinal issues happening right now.
I'm sure that the reason Dan Didio left DC will all come out in a lawsuit.
Lawsuit. In the brief.
Yeah. So one more thing about DC. It's not about DC, but it is DC adjacent. It was late one night. I was bored. I was looking for something to watch on TV, and The Killing Joke is on HBO Max. I'd never seen it. I haven't even read the comic, but I decided to give it a watch. So that's a thing that happened. I have nothing further to say.
All right. So no. You walked into that room, and now we're gonna have to beat you with a pillow. One word to describe. Give one word impression or 2-word impression of the Killing Joke animated film.
Well, see, this is a thing because I don't have the comic to compare it to. I know it's comprised of two different comics. I thought it was it's not one word. Oddly sexualized.
Yeah, that movie is probably one of the most offensive things I've ever seen DC Comics ever do.
And it's surprising because, people were so excited because Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill were coming back to reprise their roles as Batman and the Joker, and which is one of the reasons why I wanted to watch it.
Right.
And then, but then, you see, I'm super loud in my microphone. But then you see, I'm getting excited. But then you see that so Barbara, she goes jogging and then she comes back and she's stretching out front of her apartment, and there's this slow pan up from the ground to her head, which is completely just showing off all of the accentuated curves they decided to draw her in. And I'm just watching this going, what am I supposed to, what are you telling, are you trying to excuse the Joker's actions later on? What's going on here?
Well, all of that stuff was not from the original comic. That twisted, that gross and twisted, hypersexualized Elektra complex relationship between Barmick. The graphic novel itself is very, very, very short, and you can find numerous quotes and interviews with Alan Moore on the net talking about how this was not a story he actually wanted to tell. This was a story that actually, at numerous points, he had to compromise the story that he wound up telling, but it's not one he was particularly fond of. It became very popular because Alan Moore is outrageous, and John Bolton's art, John
Brian
Bolland,
Bolland,
not Mark. Brian Bolland. There's a Bolland out there somewhere. There's John Bolton and Brian Bolland were very popular at the same time. Not to be confused with. He's another painter, illustrator, English illustrator. They're both English. And then I was going to roll in Bolin from T-Rex, but never mind. That cartoon is a travesty. Yeah, it's really cool that Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy got together to do the voices again, but it's really unfortunate that they had to contribute their sizable talents to such a piece of utter, offensive, sexist, twisted dreck.
So anyway, I'm going to watch it again tonight. By the way, moving on.
Yeah. Hey, that was my out loud voice. Please forgive me. It's really terrible. It's a really, really terrible cartoon. I'm still reconciling and negotiating with the original comic book because it had such a profound impact on my little brain and shaped how I felt about Batman. And remember, it came out very close to the Dark Knight, so we're in this whole period of looking at Batman as, you know, a potentially fascistic character, which, by the by, he is now, hands down. You know, and how we're supposed to feel about him. And I think even Alan Moore says having Joker shoot and paralyze Barbara Gordon in the manner that happened was really bad form, not to mention bad taste. And it was actually the way Bolin drew it is very hypersexualized and super duper creepy. But I think that's the point. Don't forget that Alan Moore likes to work from shock. And a lot of people, myself included, frequently have a difficult time negotiating that. So, well, you saw it. You can say you saw it. I'm sorry. Next time, let me steer you away from that, and let me take you by the little hand.
Well, if there's something on a streaming service that is comics adjacent that you think I should watch, let me know. Let our audience know. Something else that we've talked about that I know you have no love for, but I've started watching is the Netflix series Space Force. And the reason I bring it up now, the only reason I'm bringing it up right now, is because the U.S. military, this is reported by CBR.com, the U.S. military could lose the Space Force trademark due to the Netflix TV show because they've trademarked it first. I think that's hilarious.
I think that's actually marvelous. I was about to say, and I quoted an old friend of mine, "Oh, wah."
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. Actually, that's is that ironic or just, fortunate circumstance?
Yeah,
Asking for a friend.
I can see some irony in it.
That's great. No, the only reason why I'm avoiding that is because of its association with our illustrious and recently impeached 45th president.
Which this article says it has nothing. It's not connected, but I think they're just saying that it's not connected to the actual Space Force, and that it's like it's not. Somebody may tune in saying, "Oh, here's the current space is like a documentary." No, it's a totally fictional show that's just based on the name. Anyway, this is kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of eyeballs on the actions of policemen across the country right now, and Marvel is actually having to deal with this too, because some policemen are co-opting the logo of the Punisher. And Marvel/Disney says, no, don't do that. And Disney is very powerful when it comes to saying, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I think this whole discussion is really fascinating. I posted a couple articles over on the Panel Jumper Facebook page because I am tracking how this goes. The Punisher has been around since the 70s, and when he showed up, he was problematic from the get-go, but he showed up in a time when anti-heroes were kind of cool, but not everybody was willing to jump on board and support the anti-hero. And now, we are all about the anti-heroes, but not a lot of people are being mindful of how they're being co-opted. There's a reason why I'm always bitching about how much I hate Deadpool, and one of the reasons why I hate Deadpool is the ease with which that cavalier toxic masculinity can be hijacked so freaking easily to people who are of a lower brow set. And I'm afraid that the same thing happened with the Punisher a while ago, but to have this emblem show up on people who were supposed to be trusting, and this emblem that's supposed to be a vigilante who lives outside the law and defies the law, is I've always seen the Punisher as a valuable, infrequent tonic to that which ails us, but not an ongoing thing. It was really concerning to me in the late 80s and early 90s when they started giving the Punisher regular comic books and regular series, and very seldom did I feel that the fascistic aspect of Punisher was actually being challenged. I think we saw it in the Netflix series in the first season, but I couldn't bring myself to watch the second season because it was just getting a little bit too revelatory, or not revelatory, but celebratory with the violence. It just became an orgy that I didn't want to participate in.
I haven't even seen the whole first season. I started watching it, and I think we stopped like halfway through.
I thought the first season had some merit, but I think the more valuable moments for that character are actually in the Daredevil series. When he's introduced, when he's not the central focus of the story, when his actions, his presence, his very identity is constantly called into question. Because when you're dealing with the character and you're putting him in that position as a protagonist, he's not always being called. He's frequently being validated for his presence, and other people are feeling at some aspect of validation from watching it. I'm trying to look up. There's a couple of articles, but one of them recently was posted by the guy that created the Punisher these many years ago, and also there was a little blurb from the comics from about a year ago where the Punisher actually encounters some police officers who have they want to take selfies with him, and he's like, you're our folk hero, and they direct him to the Punisher sticker they have on their squad car, and he tears it off, and he's got actually a couple of really good lines.
I have that. I have exactly what you're talking about.
Sorry, great, thank you.
It's from awesome. Punisher number 13 in July of 2019 by Matthew Rosenberg, Simon Kudransky, Antonio Fabella, and Corey Pettit. Frank Castle is confronted by some NYPD officers. They want to once they realize who he is, they want to take a selfie, and they show his emblem, and he says to them, and he takes it and he rips it up, and he says to them, "I'll say this once, we're not the same. You took an oath to uphold the law. You helped people. I gave all that up long time ago. You don't do what I do. Nobody does. You boys need a role model. His name is Captain America, and he'd be happy to have you."
I actually love that frame. I think that little bit there is really great. I found that Jerry Conway was the guy that originally created, and there's a quote here that he gave to Sci-Fi Magazine back in 2019 that I appreciated. He said, "The vigilante anti-hero is fundamentally a critique of the justice system, an example of social failure. So when cops put Punisher skulls on their cars, Punisher skull patches, they're basically siding with an enemy of the system. Whether you think the Punisher is justified or not, whether you admire his code of ethics, he is an outlaw, he is a criminal. Police should not be embracing a criminal system as their symbol." I think that this speaks to a lot of the fundamental toxicity of what we're like, particularly white culture is taking a hard look at it where it comes to police brutality. It's like, we are hiring people that think this is cool. We are hiring people that admire this aspect of it and are reading it the wrong freaking way. And it goes, and I'm always going to bring up how much I despise Deadpool, and how I kind of feel like I've always felt that people who miss the humor of the character and shift into embracing, because they don't teach irony in schools anymore, who shift all the way over into embracing the identity of this character and not feeling any sense of distance from it at all. People are supposed to feel a distance, experience some kind of distance from Deadpool, and I'm sorry, am I talking too much?
No, I was just gonna say, how much I love you hate. You know how much I love how much you hate Deadpool.
Yes, I get that.
Anything else about how authoritarian regimes co-opt comic book culture?
Not at present, but I think there might be a panel jumper episode here at somewheres.
Yeah. So, just a couple small. Actually, we don't even talk about these. This was just a fill time, but I have a feeling that you have something you want to talk about, Cole. Do you have a particular book you want to tell our audience and to me about?
Yeah, I do. Our Andrew Lee Creech, who's a member of our Panel Jumper extended family, recommended this book to me about a year ago, and I didn't get around to it because I'm a lazy good-for-nothing. But I really want to recommend Image Comics. If I'm not mistaken, this is Jordan Peele has also all properties relating to Black American culture right now, as he's doing wisely. Cannot wait for Lovecraft Country, by the by. This is a really, really cool series. I can just read the blurb to you here. It's since the dawn of civilization, a great evil has plagued humanity. It has taken many forms and gone by different names: the demon, the monster, Genu. No matter the name, the results are always the same: the corruption of human soul. A family. They're an extended family who's existed in this country for going back to the era of slavery. But they actually comprise a secret family society who fight these demonic creatures called Genu. What are the Genu? Well, the Genu are white people so immersed in hatred and racism and self-loathing that they are overcome with evil and become demonic figures. And the Sangarai family, forgive me, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I even looked it up and cannot find it. The series exists. Actually, the writers kind of plugged it into a context, and this series. So there's comic book starts in the 40s, and is comprised of super science, but also Native African and voodoo magic, sort of all run together, which is what fascinates me most about this book. Conjure Punk. Before I forget, it's created by David W. Walker, Chuck Brown, and Sanford Green. 10 issues, and there's a summer special. Great time. And but what I love about it is just not the comic book proper, nor the artwork, nor the story, but they leave room in the back for endnotes, and they talk to a lot of Black scholars and public figures, and their discussion of the book here. So they're clearly, the creators are always in touch with people from the Black academic and creative community to validate, support, and perpetuate the work that they're doing in this book. And you would think it would make it very heavy and intellectual, but it's not. It's still a very fun, action-packed. I mean, look at that! Look at that splash page! Action-packed series with a lot of really super vibrant color and very exciting characters. But I love going to the back and reading these mini essays that these different individuals who are teachers, who are scholars, who are fellow artists are talking about to sort of support what the book is about. So I cannot recommend this book enough. And it's one of these books that if there and the poor distribution of independent comics and the availability of getting into comic book stores will hinder, this is a book I'm worried about because I think everybody should be reading this book. So thank you, and I hope you all can get your hands on it. I think the first 5 issues are now available in a trade, but that's all the more I'm aware of right now. Bitterroot.
Cool. Thank you, Cole. Moving on to quiz time. Actually, no, that's an old reference.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, I felt that twinge there.
This week our questions come to us from Cole Hornaday. Lay it on us, Cole.
And I got to tell you about quiz time. There was always been this little bit of panic, but that you would call on me, and I had totally spaced the questions. I totally spaced putting them together. That was one of those actor nightmare things for me.
Yeah, I get it. I actually had a spare quiz time all lined up, ready to go in case I forgot. And
Wow.
yeah. And it was a quiz time called Every Answer is Batman.
Perfect. See, buddy, I'm not that clever.
Actually, I stole that. I stole that from an old Almost Live bit, a game show called The Answer Is Ball. I just want to point out that Andrew is with us today, and he says the second of Bitterroot, the second trade comes out in September.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you for recommending the book to me. I've been meaning to text you my impressions, but I figure I'd rather just sit down and talk with you about it at some point because I'm really digging the book.
Cool. I have no book report. I did finish reading all of Lock and Key, which I really enjoyed, and I gave.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I'm sorry to cut you off, but there was a more recent. Was it a one shot?
Yeah.
I totally missed it.
Yeah, I didn't read that. I actually there was a shipping snafu. The first time I ordered the books, I did buy the books from our friends at Comics Dungeon, and the package was stolen from my apartment lobby. So so I had that one in that package. Unfortunately, Comics Dungeon did not have that in store. That was the last one they had. But fortunately, they did have the final 2 trades, so I was able to at least complete the final story.
You know, I wanted to, before we move any further down the road toward wrapping this up, I did want to mention that By the By Comics has opened its doors, and they're asking that you make an appointment. Give a call or send Chris an email at comicsdungeon at
No, it's comicsdungeon at hotmail.com.
At Hotmail, because I think we're kind of going to be living in appointment reality going forward. Yeah. So you can't go in the store. They're only allowing 4 people in the store at a time, and there are a lot of restrictions about kids, how many people you can bring with you or not, and stuff like that. How much browsing time you'll be allowed. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to be able to send Chris an email, make an appointment, pick up my stuff. This is our new normal. This is the way we're gonna have to do things. But I sure miss my friends there at the store a lot.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait till the time when I can go back into the store and just nose around. Anyway, so yeah, I read the final Lock and Key. I gave the Netflix show another shot. I've watched the first 3 episodes. I'll finish it. I don't know. I'm not too excited about it. It's kind of boring, honestly.
I think that's the biggest issue I had is the comic book is really, really exciting for a number of reasons. Excuse me, the graphic novel series is really exciting for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. All right. The illustrative style was this one conglomeration of cartoony and reality, and the architecture and the design work in it is really exciting. The characters are really sparkly, and those actors are not right freaking lackluster. I think that was the biggest issue. It's oh my God, teenagers talk this way on television in the 70s. We're in the we're in the we're in the late 2000s now.
We're in the early 2000s. One last thing I want to say about the show, and then I think we need to wrap it up because I can see that my computer's getting tired and everything's getting super laggy. Rendell Locke, the patriarch of the family, who spoilers gets shot in before the comic even starts. Yeah, in the TV show, they find one of his old yearbooks, and he's a class of 95. His high school was class of 95. I was class of 94. So the primary dad figure in that TV show is a year younger than I am. Yeah, totally. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Cole, Hornady, do you have any final thoughts before before we throw this away? Aside from promoting the Panel Jumper live stream, which is going to happen 2 weeks from now.
Well,
That kind of was our whole point of doing this. Yeah, well, hey, look, I remembered.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter when you get on 8 p.m. at 8 p.m. Saturday the 20th on a computer screen near you. So, obviously, for those who recall, we had booked and were ready to roll with the Panel Jumper Live Chapter
9.
and 9. We're going to roll with Chapter 9. That was the 8th.
Yes.
And for obvious reasons, that didn't happen. But we had already shot a new short we called Cole's Corner. We'd already booked all the acts but one. And I was pretty excited about what was going to happen. So retained 2 acts, musician Ron Hexagon and international award-winning soloist writer El Nicole Cabe will be giving us a solo piece. And, of course, we got the Panel Jumper short, Cole's Corner, that we shot way back in February. But we also, in addition to all those things, conjured up some new sketches designed around our COVID-19 creating art via the web. We'll also be talking with, and I'm actually really excited about this, our mutual friend and Panel Jumper community member, Mr. Jose Amador. We're going to talk about Jose's comic book character. For a couple of years now, some very close friends of Jose have been incorporating him into a comic strip called Beige P.I. And we're going to talk more about Beige P.I. and a audio comedy drama, Beige P.I., that's also available on the web. So I'm pretty happy to talk about that stuff. What did I leave out?
No, I don't think you left anything out. But the details are all over our Facebook page. Just like us on Facebook. We have an Instagram presence as well, and somebody is handling that, I assume. So if you,
yes,
yeah,
that'd be Webster.
So yeah.
So follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please follow us on Instagram because Webster's doing some pretty fun stuff over there. And, if you haven't liked us on Facebook, I don't know what your problem is because we've been available to you for quite some time.
And I it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny that we're pushing this really heavily to the people who are watching this really small thing that we do, who are probably going to tune in anyway. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Andrew, Denny, Sarah, yes, Gerard, all the people who've commented, who we personally know. So thank you for tuning in.
If you guys could share that stuff, that would be wonderful as well.
Yes, tell your friends.
I have this fancy dream that we will get a much larger audience on the web than we would in live and in person. Though, don't get me wrong, the live and in-person audiences are invigorating, validating, and very, not life-fulfilling, what's the word? Life-affirming. And I know it's going to be challenged to do this without a house, but that's the world we live in right now.
Yeah, it is, and and hopefully, hopefully the leaders of our local government will come to their senses and listen to the voices that are steadily rising up, and we won't have to. Because one of my fears is like something bad is going to happen, and we just can't do the show because it would not be right. And so I hope that everybody who's listening calls their council members, calls the mayor, the governor. Do what you can to help this thing that we're going through, because we can only do just lighthearted pop culture fare so long before it starts to feel weird under the weight of just civil unrest.
Now, Ben, you said that we shouldn't be getting political.
That's my white privilege speaking, dude.
Well, I loved what you just said. I think that's marvelous. I encourage that honesty and sincerity more often.
And for more of that sincerity, tune in to the Panel Jumper live stream. See more comedy just like this, plus a bunch of other stuff at a YouTube channel near you. My name is Ben Lawrence. Cole Hornaday, thank you so much for talking with me.
We'll see you real soon.
No. It's for people who are still with us, there's a bit of a delay, and so yes. I hear what you're saying, and then maybe like 2.5, 3 seconds later, the web hears what you're saying, and so I can't cut you off. I have to wait for you actually to finish speaking on the stream. That's more than you need to know, but thank you, everybody.
So the cops are literally vacating that space. They're literally vacating the precinct. They moved out. They spent most of today moving out. And all I can figure is they're afraid that the protesters are going to burn it down the way they did in Minneapolis. That's all I can figure.
They were almost counting on that, just as an excuse to just go postal on that. Although that's a bad phrase to use these days. We like the post office.
Well, the kids aren't going to know what that means.
But
the kids understand that. No, I couldn't figure out why they were cordoning off, why they were putting barricades up there in that part of the street. Why they were, and I was like, oh, they're really afraid that these protesters are going to burn down the precinct office.
Yeah,
and I think that was an incredible indication of the hubris of our police, of the Seattle Police Department. It was like, these people want to protest. We all want to protest. We want to be heard. The only people that want to burn things are the people that this mother-fucker who drove through the street and walked.
All right, let me actually end the show before we start talking politics.
Oh my god! I thought you ended the show.
You started talking, so hey everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Really mean it.